The rain was falling in thin silver needles when the mechanic dropped to one knee in front of the Billionaire's broken jet, its massive engine open like a wounded heart, steam rising into the cold night air, while inside the cabin the richest woman on the continent sat stranded, silent, and strangely helpless. And no one on that shining private runway yet understood that this soaked, exhausted single father with oil on his hands was about to change far more than a machine. This was the night when power bowed to patience, when money met meaning, and when a man who had almost given up on himself quietly stepped into a moment that would rewrite his life. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach the hearts that need them most. His name was Aaron, and most days he felt invisible. He worked the night shift at a small aircraft maintenance hangar on the edge of the city, the kind of place that handled cargo planes and charter flights, not the gleaming white jet that now sat motionless under the floodlights like a grounded bird with clipped wings. Aaron had once dreamed of becoming an aerospace engineer, but dreams are fragile things when life gets heavy. When his wife died suddenly from a brain aneurysm 3 years earlier, his world collapsed into two small hands that reached for him every morning and every night. His son Leo was 6, curious and gentle, and every decision Aaron made now revolved around keeping that child safe, fed, and hopeful. College was abandoned, savings vanished, and what remained was a stubborn love and a skill with machines that he had taught himself. Through old manuals, late-night videos, and endless practice. The jet had arrived hours earlier, escorted by luxury cars and men in tailored coats, who spoke in quiet, clipped voices. The owner was known everywhere, a self-made billionaire who had built an empire from software and investments, a woman whose name was on skyscrapers and scholarships, whose photo appeared in magazines beside words like visionary and unstoppable. Her engineers had flown in first, her own elite team, and they had circled the engine, run diagnostics, replaced parts, and argued in hushed tones until finally one of them shook his head and admitted defeat. Something deep in the turbine system was misaligned in a way their tools could not identify quickly, and the jet was not safe to fly. Time was expensive, and for her, time was usually obedient. But that night, time refused. Aaron had not been assigned to the jet. He had been finishing paperwork, planning to hurry home before Leo woke up and wondered where his father was. But when he walked past the hangar and saw the engine open, the rain pouring over polished metal and expensive shoes, he felt that old pull in his chest. The one that always came when something was broken and he believed he could understand it, if he just looked long enough. He stood there for a moment, watching water slide down the curved metal like tears, and then he did something he almost never did. He stepped forward. He did not announce himself. He did not claim expertise. He simply asked if he could take a look. There was hesitation, then impatience, then finally a reluctant nod from someone who had nothing left to lose. He knelt in the rain, his knees soaking through, his hands moving slowly, respectfully, tracing the engine's form like a doctor feeling for a pulse. He did not rush. He listened, not with his ears but with his eyes and fingers, noticing tiny vibrations, faint discolorations, the way one blade caught the light differently than the others. What he saw was not dramatic, just subtle. A microfracture, invisible to most sensors, in a component that should have been perfectly smooth, causing a slight imbalance that grew dangerous at high speed. It was the kind of problem that happened once in a million cycles, the kind of problem no manual described because it was too rare to predict. But Aaron had seen something like it once before, on an old military transport plane, years ago, and the memory surfaced now like a whisper from the past. He asked for permission to try something. There was no confidence in his voice, only care. They hesitated, then agreed. Hours passed. The rain softened into mist. His hands worked with precision and tenderness, adjusting, reinforcing, recalibrating. He used tools that looked too small and simple for such an expensive machine, but in his hands they became instruments of healing. When he finally stepped back, exhausted and trembling from the cold, the engine was closed and the test run began. The sound that followed was not loud. It was smooth, balanced, right. The jet lived again. In that moment, nothing exploded, no one clapped, no music swelled, but something quiet and powerful shifted in the air. The billionaire stepped out into the rain, not caring about her coat or her shoes, and looked at the man who had fixed what her empire could not. She saw not just a mechanic, but a story, a grief, a devotion etched into the lines of his face. She asked about him, and for the first time in years, someone asked Aaron about more than a machine. He told her about Leo, about late nights and early mornings, about dreams folded away like old maps, about how he loved his work but felt like he was only surviving, not living. He did not ask for anything. He did not pitch himself. He simply answered honestly. The jet took off safely an hour later, its lights disappearing into the clouds, but something remained behind. A week later, Aaron received a letter. Not an email, not a call, but a real letter on heavy paper. Inside was an offer that felt unreal. A full scholarship to finish his degree, a job at a new research facility she was funding, flexible hours, childcare support, and a simple handwritten note at the bottom saying that the world needed more people who fix things with care, not ego. Aaron cried in his kitchen while Leo ate cereal and watched cartoons, unaware that their future was quietly being rewritten. Months passed. Then years. Aaron studied again, built new systems, helped design safer, more efficient engines that saved fuel and reduced failures. He still worked with his hands, still came home tired, still read bedtime stories and packed lunches. But now he walked with a different weight in his chest. Not the weight of loss, but the weight of purpose. And the billionaire, once untouchable, became quietly human again through that night in the rain. She funded apprenticeships, paid for single parents to retrain, invested not just in technology but in people who had been overlooked. The story of the jet was never made public, never turned into a headline, but it lived on and changed lives in safer flights, in children who saw their parents come home smiling. Because sometimes the greatest miracles are not loud. They are small and steady and soaked in rain, performed by people the world almost misses. And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that goodness still moves quietly through the world, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe, so these stories can keep traveling to the people who need them. Special request. Before we end, please comment below what part of this story moved you the most, or share a moment when someone's kindness changed your life, because your words might be the light someone else is searching for. In the end, the jet was fixed, yes, but that was the smallest thing that happened that night. What truly changed was a man who remembered his worth, a woman who rediscovered humility, and a world that became, in one small corner, a little kinder than it had been before.